Yesterday afternoon, Candace Owens finally had a sit-down with Charlie Kirk's widow, Erika Kirk. They met for 4.5 hours with lawyers, with personnel. Candace asked all of her questions, and Turning Point personnel provided all of their answers, all of their receipts, documentation. They came prepared. And if you've been following the story, this is the latest development, because what was supposed to happen yesterday was a live stream. For months, Candace Owens has been accusing Turning Point USA of complicity or participation in Charlie Kirk's assassination. She says that Turning Point personnel betrayed Charlie Kirk. Those closest to him betrayed him. He was betrayed by everybody, she said. And as time has gone on, she has insinuated that Erika herself, who is now the head of Turning Point, as well as many of Charlie's close friends like Blake Neff and Andrew Colvett, among others, that they were all involved, that they either gave their consent or they participated in Charlie's murder. Finally, Turning Point felt the need to answer those charges. And they announced a couple of weeks ago that they would do a live stream addressing the allegations, a public, in-person live stream where they would talk about it. That was supposed to happen yesterday. And I'm sure you remember this. Blake Neff put down the gauntlet. He said they are hosting a live, in-person stream in Phoenix from Turning Point headquarters where they would respond with receipts and personnel and everything to all of the conspiracies about Turning Point. He said that Candace Owens could attend in person and that she would be at liberty to ask anything. Candace Owens declined the invitation. She said, I'm busy that day, I can't travel, but I'll live stream your live stream. So we were supposed to get a live, think about it this way. We were supposed to get a live in-person confrontation. And I think that's honestly the best case scenario, because that is how our court system works. You face your accuser. There's a sense of justice. There's a jury. The American people get to witness this on a live stream. We all get to watch. And we get to see the evidence presented. We get to see it laid out in a public forum, and we get to decide in the court of public opinion. And the accused will present their evidence. The accuser will present their evidence. The accused will face their accuser in person. And after that, nobody can say that anything is being hidden. Nobody can say that anything is being withheld from the public. I really think that would have been the best case scenario, because so much has been said on all sides of this. Wild conspiracies and speculation, as well as a lack of evidence, let's say, from Utah police. They've not presented all their evidence or their entire case because of the due process constitutional protections afforded to Tyler Robinson. And so I think everybody would have liked to see, whether you're skeptical or not, whatever side of it you're on, everybody would have liked to see Candace Owens, who unquestionably has spearheaded the issue, for better or for worse. We all wanted to see her ask the questions, and that would have been the moment of truth. Is there even a rebuttal? And if there is it compelling? What is it? Everyone was dying to know. But she backed down. She said, oh, I can't go. My husband has people coming in from out of town. I'm busy that day. And that was a huge disappointment, because you can't do that. You actually can't spearhead a challenge like that and egg everybody on and lead the charge, lead the mob for 3 months, pointing the finger. They did it. They're guilty. We have the evidence. We have the receipts. We have the names. And then when those people who you have been accusing, when those people say, okay, bring it on, say it to our face where we can actually answer the charge. You can't turn around then and say, oh, I'm busy that day. Oh, I got something going on. That doesn't work. Because at the minimum, let's say you don't have a responsibility to get everything right or anything right. Let's say for a moment that Candace is completely in the right. She can ask any question, say anything, and even though she frequently gets it wrong or has disregard for the truth or her standards are lax, let's pretend for a moment that doesn't matter. At the minimum, if you're talking all that shit, you have an obligation then to face the person you're accusing.
Mm-hmm.
And make...
That's why Candace is coming under such scrutiny now, is how vocal she was after, obviously, the Charlie Kirk situation. Obviously, what she was saying, and then obviously, there was supposed to be a meeting there, which would have been great, I think. But I think she kind of flapped it. I think she kind of realised all I'm doing here is just kind of pushing a conspiracy that I can't back up. If you're going to push things like that, you've got to be able to back it up. And clearly, she couldn't. And that's where her reputation took a huge, huge hit. And this is the thing, and this is the difference between her and, for example, someone like Nick Fuentes. She is a grifter. Whatever you think of Candace Owens, I think she pushes some good messages, and some of the stuff that she says I agree with. She's absolutely a grifter. If you look into her past, she's like sued people for racism. She sued her ex-boyfriend for racism, a landlord for racism. She's done some really weird stuff. Her the weird connections that she's got, how she met her husband, stuff that you guys should definitely look into, and then obviously formulate your own opinion on. But she's a grifter. And that's all Nick Fuentes. Obviously, Nick Fuentes has faced her and has interviewed her. Why can't she then? She's put a lot of criticism on Erika Kirk, as has Nick Fuentes, to be completely honest. And it's more asking questions as why Erika Kirk has acted the way that she's acted after such a horrible thing happened, which is fair enough. I mean, given what has been going on, she's putting herself in the public eye. People have a right to sort of ask questions on it. But it's the kind of pushing the narrative with fucking no evidence is where she's getting called out, and it's good that Nick calls this out.
Case, because otherwise, what credibility do you really have? It's easy to sit in your fortress, in your bunker, and throw all this stuff out there, make these wild claims. I have ideas. I'm taking on the system. It's easy to do that when it's only going in one direction. How much credibility do you have that the moment someone stands up and says, you know what, let's debate it out, you shrink and you retreat into the palace and say, never mind, I'm just going to do my own thing? It's not a good look, and it's the wrong thing. So she said she couldn't go. She said, as an alternative, she would live stream her reaction to Turning Point's live stream. Turning Point would go ahead and present their evidence, and rather than hearing it and challenging it in person, she said she would be live streaming it and giving her reaction to the public. And you say, well, that's not ideal, but it's maybe the next best thing. At the minimum, she's having to face in real time a counter argument. And we'll see what she's made of. We'll see, it's sort of like a one-way cross-examination. We'll see if she's able to answer what they have to say. Well, then they work out just in the last few days. We're not even getting a live stream at all. And they announce that instead, Candace Owens will be meeting privately with Erika Kirk behind closed doors. So no live stream. It's not in public. We don't get to hear it. We don't get the evidence. It's going to be completely private. And suddenly, Candace Owens' schedule clears up. She couldn't make the live stream, but she could stream the live stream. Now she made time, and she had a 4.5-hour meeting with Erika Kirk. So she didn't have time to fly to Phoenix, Arizona, but she did have time for a 4.5-hour meeting, which you have to imagine involved time on either side of that, traveling to and from. She couldn't fly there to do it in person, but she could do a 4.5-hour meeting where there's no cameras. I find that really interesting.
Yep.
And they say that it's a meeting with a guy named Strife at Turning Point, Erika Kirk, Turning Point's lawyers, and Candace Owens. That's the meeting. She's there for 4.5 hours. She doesn't say anything all day. Today, she gives her recap of the meeting on her show. She starts out by playing a Jewish song and dancing to it, and she says, Shabbat Shalom, which I find to be very strange. She talks about it on her show for about 30 minutes and then spends another 30 minutes talking about a bunch of other crap. Really? This was the moment we were all waiting for. You backed down from the challenge. You didn't even live stream it. You caved and did this in-person meeting. You don't say anything all day. Everybody's waiting for it. Finally, you do your show recapping the 4.5-hour meeting. She doesn't even dedicate her entire 1-hour show to the meeting. Doesn't dedicate even the entirety of her 1-hour show the next day. She spends 30 minutes talking about it. I think she did more sponsorships than she talked about the actual meeting. More sponsorships for like pro-life and gold or whatever it is than she did talking about the actual meeting. And what she talked about, honestly, I didn't even follow it. I didn't even really understand what she said. It was so rambly and non-committal and half-baked. It seemed like at once, she was saying, well, Turning Point is innocent. Erika Kirk is innocent. And they showed me some receipts. And Tyler Robinson's the killer. And he shot Charlie Kirk. And the bullet stopped in Charlie Kirk's neck because they saw the medical report. So she totally walked it back. But then at the same time, she comes out and says, well, but some people at Turning Point are bad because the vibes are off. No evidence. She just says, I don't know, I feel like something is off. She says she brought up the Egyptian planes to Erika Kirk, but didn't really tell us what the result of that was, what Erika said, or if there was a conclusion that was reached, and maintains that she still sort of believes in a conspiracy. And to borrow a phrase, the whole show was pretty fake and gay. Fake and gay. She sounded nervous. She sounded not confident. It sounded like she knows she's full of shit. It was confused, rambling, non-committal, wants to maintain the facade that there's some conspiracy, I'm still on the case, but at the same time, walking significant parts of it back.
Whatever you guys think about Candace, obviously I don't know. I think it's very likely that she's took a deal. She's took some sort of deal. She's either been paid off. I think she might now be compromised. It was in the thumbnail of one of my videos. After this, I mean, before it had dodgy feelings about Candace Owens and how reliable she really is. This solidified that and made it concrete. She's definitely took a deal, in my opinion. I don't know, obviously. But in my head, I'm like, she's clearly took a deal there. And that's where, again, this is why Nick is able to just kind of walk all over people like this. I mean, again, Candace Owen grifted. Nick was obviously cancelled on everything, obviously cozy TV days. He's been pushing the same narrative for about 10 years now. Whereas Candace is a grifter, I think is just trying to kind of keep everyone happy. I mean, you see her in this, what he's talking about there is, obviously she's still trying to maintain that there might be some kind of conspiracy. That's to try and keep her audience happy, while also keeping up her end of the bargain with regards to whatever deal she's just taken with Erika Kirk with Turning Point. So, yeah, definitely something dodgy going on there.
In the end, only spending about half the show talking about it before she launched into a bunch of other stuff about Tim Pool and other drama. And here's what I think happened. So what happened to the big bad Candace Owens? I think that's what everybody's wondering. What happened to that cockiness? What happened to the swaggering Candace Owens? For 3 months, this uppity black woman has been going on her YouTube and bobbing her head. I'm going to name names. That doesn't work for me. What you mean? What you mean? That ain't work with my timeline. What you mean? I got the names. You don't want to fuck with me. That we've been hearing that for 3 months. We have been hearing this uppity ignoramus for 3 months, bobbing her head, cocky. Hey, yo, I got names. Don't you try. Don't play with me. Where'd she go? Where'd that Candace go? Where is she? What happened? Did they replace her with a body double? Is it AI? Check her earlobes. Check her earlobes. Did they replace her? Because we got a very different Candace Owens. Today, we got a Candace Owens who is sort of nervous, saying, hi guys, Shabbat Shalom. Everyone's saying I sold out. What do you mean? That's not true. Those are bots saying that. I still believe there's a conspiracy. What happened? What happened to that same energy? She went into the meeting with this energy, giddy, grinning, smiling. Erika Kirk, she's talking about me. I know she's talking about me. I'm going to set her straight. I'm going to ask my questions. Tell me where I lied, she said. Then she goes in the meeting, whole different attitude. Changed her tune. She comes out of the meeting, whole different attitude. Erika's the best. Turning Point's innocent. It's just some people in Turning Point might be bad because, we don't know, but we know it feels off. What happened? You know what I think happened? I think this is why Turning Point called the meeting in the first place. Because a lot of people that defend Turning Point were saying they're making a mistake hosting the meeting. They're saying no matter what they say, Candace will continue fanning the flames of the conspiracy. People said, so why did Erika agree to the meeting? Here's what I think happened based on my intimate knowledge of how these things work. The way the defamation law works in the United States is very interesting. If you defame or libel an ordinary person, a private citizen, there's a very low bar to prove that you've defamed somebody. So let's say if I talk about my neighbor who is not on Twitter, who's not on Facebook, who's not a famous person, if I take my neighbor who's a private person that just has a job and is unknown, and I start saying, this person's a murderer, this person's a rapist, this person's terrible, all they have to prove is that I was reckless. All they have to prove is that what I'm telling the world about that person is not true. And they win. And they get to extract a lot of damages. If, however, you are a public figure, if you're famous, so let's say if you're the president of the United States, if I say a lot of terrible things about the president, he has a much higher bar legally to find to hurt that person. And then they have to prove how much money they lost. So it's very difficult to prove defamation if you're a public figure, and it's even more difficult for it to be lucrative, for it to be viable, to win any kind of money, because you have to prove the damages too. How do you prove that somebody is engaging in actual malice? You have to prove that they lied and they knew they were lying, which is a very tough thing, because how do you know that somebody is lying? Well, I imagine maybe that's what they did in this meeting. Because Turning Point brought their lawyers and they brought their documentation. And if they show Candace Owens certain information with a lawyer present, if Candace continues to talk badly about Turning Point after having verifiably seen evidence to the contrary, they can prove actual malice. They can prove that she's knowingly lying. Maybe that's what they did. Maybe that was the strategy. Perhaps during the meeting, Candace Owens was threatened. And they told her, if you keep going like this, we have now shown you the evidence. We will sue your pants off for defamation. Because why else would it be a private meeting? Why would it be a private meeting? Why would Candace take a private meeting instead of doing it in the public? Isn't that
exactly right what Nick is saying here? I agree. I think what it is Turning Point and Erika Kirk know that Candace really doesn't know what she's talking about and is just sort of pushing these crap conspiracies. So they brought their A game essentially to the meeting, and Candace has kind of gone, oh, and shut her mouth. She's took, without a doubt, she took a deal or something like that to avoid getting sued, which is fair enough, I wouldn't want to pay millions out. I don't have millions to pay out, but if I did, I wouldn't want to pay it out. So I get it from that perspective. But then I suppose what she's trying to do now is just try and keep everyone happy, try and keep her audience happy, but also she's sort of walking on a tightrope and doesn't want to, trigger that kind of defamation of Turning Point of Erika Kirk. So yeah, it just highlights, Candace Owen, in my opinion, clearly a grifter. I do agree with some of the points that she kind of pushes out, but I just don't have that much respect for her anymore. As with a lot of these right-wing politicians, like political commentators and influencers, there's so many now that are like jumping on the bandwagon of like right-wing views and the movement because they realise how much traction that it's gaining, and so many of them are grifters, which is why Nick is as successful as he is, because he's been, guys, all of the people that say like Nick Fuentes is a Fed and stuff like that, go and look into his past and do your own research on him, and then make your own opinion as to whether you think he's a Fed or not. He's been doing this for a very long time. Obviously, he had his cozy TV days, and he was allowed back on Rumble, but he's been going on for a very, very long time, pushing not exactly the same. Obviously, certain things have changed, but roughly the same narrative for a very long time. So that's why I don't know, but that's why I don't think that Nick is compromised or anything like that. But yeah, is Nick right about Candace? Am I right about Candace? Let me know your opinion down in the comments. As always, guys, thank you very much for watching. Stay based. I'll see you in the next one.